This is Matrix Lord 212, and people often say, what shapes you at a very early age to be who the person you are today? Remembering my childhood, I always had this fascination with the future. I had a great childhood, great dad, great mom. I was always going on the weekends to my grandmother's house, my grandfather's house, on my dad's side. I used to play and everything, and I always like my grandparents and my aunts. They always were like, I was born on Abraham Lincoln's birthday, which is the 212, basically 212, Matrix Low 212. That's my birthday. So, which is fitting when I created this channel, that's the name of the channel. And also Matrix Lore, because I'm always into sci-fi and all these different things. So they were always like, oh, you're born on Abraham Lincoln's birthday. They kept imbuing into me like how important I was going to be, how special I was, how smart I was, that I was going to be president one day, that I was going to like do wondrous things for the world, and also in my head that I was the last of my kind, the last capriccioso. And they kept, saying it over and over again, that I was the last of my kind, that the family can't die out. When I get older, I got to have kids. So the line continues, the lineage continues. So, you know, when I was very young, like maybe I was like 4, and I remember like playing in the yard, and I was always like, I was so happy. I got everything I wanted. I was like, I was a little kid. I didn't even go to school yet. Didn't even go to kindergarten yet. And I remember riding like my big. We had these big bikes that we rode that were like big wheelers, like blue wheels. There was 2 big blue wheels in the back, 1 in the front, and I would race around the house. There would be like concrete on both sides, and it would lead to like the grass in the back. So it would be like on the side there'd be concrete with a gate that would lead to the front, and then it would in the back there'd be the grass and stuff like that, and then on the other side it would be all grass on the other side, but it would also have a gate leading to the front of the house. And there was a door in the back and a door in the front. And I used to like ride around, and I just would look up into the sky, and I would just like, this is like when my first like thoughts would appear. Like I start thinking in my head, start thinking about all these things they would tell me and what I was going to be in the future. What would the future be like? What's going to happen in the future? And I would start to dream. Like certain point in time in your childhood, you start to think for yourself. You get shaped by all these things around you, and you get to formulate your personality and your opinions and all these different things. You start thinking in your head, you start talking in your head, you start like getting more intelligent, all these different things. So I was like very happy, and I just felt that my future was bright. That no matter what, towards, it was going to be a wonderful life. It was going to be a future. It was going to be bright. I was going to be somebody. And my family believed that in me. They had that strongly. When I was like 5, I think in kindergarten, I always had in my head, and I don't know why, that I always wanted to write a book in the future. But I always had this thing, for some reason, maybe it's from school, I had doubts in myself that I'm not smart enough to write a book, even though I wanted to write a book. Maybe it's because of bullying going on in school when I was little and getting beat up here and there, or whatever, and my confidence level went down from when I was young, like, and I always had in a vision, I wanted to do a book, but I always felt down about it. Like I wasn't smart enough. I was stupid. I was this, I was that. And it's funny how, like, you have from your family's teachings and then in school teachings. And yes, you have teachers that want to teach you different things, but then you have experiences that you have growing up in the school that teachers are really not, back then, it's like they're not, you know, thinking about the mindset that could happen if you're getting bullied or different things happening to you, and how that affects you when you get older too. Like honestly, if I was to work into like the school district or something like that, I would always be aware of the mental state of the kids and the bullying. and how that will shape them or knock them down or whatever. And I would make sure that that would never happen. I think that that needs to take place more than anything in schools today, because that's all you need is for it to affect the mind of someone that, could be so much more. And for years, them go into a depression or something like that because of bullying, because of being picked on or different things. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So despite that going on, I always thought that I was going to write a book, even though I didn't believe I had the ability to. And I always felt that I was going to have kids named Joseph and Anthony. Don't ask me why. When I was 5, I had it in my head, I want to have kids named Joseph and Anthony. And I was going to have 2 boys, Joseph and Anthony. But back then, now, you could say how this happened, why this happened. Don't ask me. I have no idea. But those are the 2 things that I had in my head, that in the future, I wanted to do a book. Didn't know if I was going to do a book. Wanted to do a book. And I wanted to, when the time came, have 2 boys, Joseph and Anthony. Now, it could be because of, my grandparents, my grandmother specifically, telling me I need to extend the line. Maybe that's why I had it in the head, but just having those exact names, I don't know. But anyway, I was always fascinated with the future. The future. Even before I started watching Doctor Who, I was fascinated with the future. But once I saw Doctor Who in kindergarten, when I was home and we had a TV set with the UHF channel, and I remember putting it on. I think it was channel 58. Was it 5821 WLYW or New Jersey Network? I'm not sure, but I saw Pyramids of Mars, and I was blown away. And there started the whole time travel aspect. Okay, that just got me hooked. When I was little, when they were taking me to the movies for the first time, okay, I saw my first movies. Now I'm trying to remember what my first movie was. I don't know if I can exactly remember, but I remember seeing Godzilla right away. Okay, and I remember having a choice. And at the time, I did not want to see Star Trek, the motion picture. But I remember at early age, it might have been Star Wars, might have been my first movie. And then years later, we saw it again and again and again and again. But once I saw Star Wars, I was fascinated with space. So Doctor Who was Doctor Who was like the time travel. And Star Wars was like the space, the force, all that stuff. When Star Trek came about later on, it was more like ships and exploring, exploring and that aspect, and a Federation and Starfleet and all that. That was boom. But all these things shaped you. I also remember seeing Mary Poppins too, and I was fascinated with that movie as well. And it's funny too about the umbrella thing, which will come into play later on. But my grandmother and my aunts, they always had the most expensive friggin' umbrellas known to man. The durable, whatever. Even my dad, working on Wall Street, he had the strongest umbrella, these big umbrellas, I remember. And I remember my dad telling me he was fighting with this guy, and they were dueling with the umbrellas. So I always had this thing in my head about umbrellas. And later on, I implemented that in a character in one of my books. Tomorrow Girl, she always has a big umbrella, different, So, growing up, that was the thing. It's Doctor Who was, once I watched Doctor Who, was amazing. I became a Doctor Who fan. It was my favorite show. Later on, when my dad took me to see Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, I was so... It was about me learning about characterizations and plots and different things, and the relationship of friendship between Kirk and Spock hit me. I got to see all these nuances in my life and different things, and my mind started expanding and exploring, and I'm the value of friendship, of a team, of people working together in a unison to stop a common foe and evil. The Star Trek Wrath of Khan was the most amazing thing ever. Okay? Years later, when I seen Back to the Future, that was the most times I ever, when it was on video, that I rented in like the video stores every friggin' time I wanted to see Back to the Future. I kept seeing Back to the Future over and over and over. Where Doctor Who welcomed me into time travel, Back to the Future really like Doctor Who was just like big with time travel, but Doctor Who was big with time travel was like the whole show, but Back to the Future also expanded upon it. You know what I'm saying? And I friggin' loved it so much, and I started writing some stuff. Like I wrote stuff to the Back to the Future Fan Club magazine. I submitted it in. They posted it. Also, early stage, I loved Spider-Man. Was my favorite superhero. Yes, I was introduced to Captain America, Submariner, Iron Man, the Hulk, and then I was interested into the DC guys. But like, yeah, I like the Super Friends, but my main thing was the Marvel guys, which at the time I couldn't distinguish what was Marvel and what was DC because I was really little. And the first comic that was ever purchased for me, I remember it was like in the 70s or whatever it was. My dad bought me a Spider-Man comic with Electro, and I was fascinated. This guy with all these like things coming at him, like these electric things, and like the hands and everything, and Spider-Man, and I think that hooked me, like fascinated me, and I wanted to see, wow, this is a cool, this is what a supervillain is. Oh my God, and you know, what if Spider-Man has more villains? And it was like, okay, and then I started from there wanting to see all these other villains. So my first villain that I was introduced to in the comics was Electro. On TV, I used to watch the Spider-Man animated series in the 60s, and it was like the Green Goblin and different things, and I was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. It was great, it was unbelievable, and I loved that show so much, the Spider-Man from the 60s. I bought the box set. I think I'm gonna watch it today. But so this is like a video about like how things shape you into the person you want to be. Also, growing up, like when I was like earliest memories of like 3 and 4, my grandmother had this whole thing behind her bed of all the saints and all these crosses and all this religious, stuff, Catholic Church, all these different things. And they were very, very religious. Like my mom was religious. On my mom's side was religious, like my dad's side. And it was always about going to church every Sunday. It was like, big, huge thing, and believing in God and all that stuff. And that was like a big, big thing cemented into my head too. My like developing, when you're really, really little, the whole thing about, faith and God and beliefs and religion, and that was like huge too, and that shaped me as well. And it's just amazing, like how, I honestly can tell you, I had a great, great childhood. I have such fond memories. Like my dad had done everything to like make me happy, and he took me to see everything. And his mentality was, when it was asked like, why are you taking Joseph to see this, why are you taking Joseph to see that, he wanted me to see everything. So like, even if like a horror movie, so I would never be afraid. Like if I got to see it so early on, I would get used to everything, and when nothing would bother me really. So it would be, I saw Jaws, like one of the Jaws movies. I saw like everything when I was a kid. So that was like awesome, and that's part one of, what shapes you, I guess, or whatever what this video is going to call. All right. So I'll talk more later on. Got to do some stuff. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye for one. Yeah. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye for now.